Now I have the honor of introducing Mustafa Turan and his fellow speakers. As Mustafa said himself, he's a diplomat by profession and social entrepreneur by passion. Welcome, Mustafa.
Thank you, Siam. Thank you. I'm not the moderator of this session, so I will pass the floor to Duygu. She's going to be our moderator, but I have the pleasure to really welcome to all of you who are watching. We have a few interesting things to share with you. So, Duygu, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mustafa. So I'd like to welcome you all to our session today, where we'll be talking about policy entrepreneurship as a catalyst for change processes. Just a bit of introduction about myself. So I lead Turkey office of Globesight, which is a global advisory firm, a development firm, working collaboratively with partners to craft innovative solutions for today's pressing challenges. I also support the Gates Foundation in Turkey as a part of my role. So today, it's going to be an interesting session. We will explore the dynamics of policy entrepreneurship and witness what really happens when the potential of these actors is actually unleashed by focusing on a real-life exemplary model, the SDG Impact Accelerator. So we'll be speaking about the accelerator itself in detail, but just to make an introduction as being someone who took part in the project, it's a global multi-stakeholder platform which brought together innovators from all around the world and connected them with the real problems on the field, helped them adapt their business solutions to address specific challenges that falls under the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The partnership of the government of Turkey, Turkish private sector, international organizations, foundations played a significant role in making it a success, as we will soon see. So we have three speakers who represent these different stakeholders today, including from the government, private sector, and startup teams of the platform. So we have Mustafa Turan, as Siam has just briefly introduced. He's a diplomat by profession and a social entrepreneur by passion. We have Melih Özsöz. He's the innovation and creativity manager at LIMAK Holding. Before joining LIMAK, Melih worked at civil society organizations for more than 10 years. He's also a social entrepreneur and was the co-founder of Turkish Garbage Ladies, one of Turkey's first social enterprises. And we have Kevin Barrow. He's a social entrepreneur and the CEO of Smart Labs, one of the alumni startups of the SDG Impact Accelerator. His startup helped organizations align their investment decisions with the pursuit of the SDGs. So I'd like to start our discussion with my first question to you, Mustafa, around the main theme of our session. So, do you consider yourself a policy entrepreneur, and why? What happens when a diplomat feels and acts like an entrepreneur? So, please.
Thank you, Duygu. I just want to, first of all, highlight how important it is for us to share our experience at this session, a bit of background why we are doing this, and also how I came to become what we call a policy entrepreneur. So first of all, the reason I thought this session would be extremely useful for many of the people participating in Katapult Cloud is because we, the entrepreneurs and the partners in the entrepreneurial ecosystems, they sometimes hesitate to have allies in the government. Like they think that the government officials would not really be understanding what they are trying to achieve, or they would not know exactly what the entrepreneurship can be useful for, or can play a significant role in the challenges that governments are dealing with. So I thought, from our perspective, if we could tell the story of the SDG Impact Accelerator, which was initiated by the government, but not by sort of a top-down instruction type of initiation, but rather initiated by the policy entrepreneurs at the bottom of the sort of structure. So that was an interesting experience. And also, we have today we are facing with complex problems, and the policy entrepreneurs have the capacity and the ability to bring different stakeholders together. And I would like to highlight this contribution from our own experience. Before I tell the story of the SDG Impact Accelerator, I just want to say a few personal things, because I think every entrepreneur has a personal story about why they became an entrepreneur in the first place. So my story begins in Belgium, in Brussels. I was posted there, and one day at lunch, I decided to go to a co-working space. So this was back then called Impact Hub of Brussels, which is now not functioning anymore. But when I entered the building, I was going downstairs, and on the walls it was written, "Another world is happening." And then I entered the space. It was quite inspirational, all the decoration, but more than that, the way people were interacting with each other was extremely inspirational for me, because I was welcomed immediately. I was asked what I was doing without being asked where I come from or what my name is. So people were curious in who I was rather than my titles or my etiquettes. So that kind of affected me a lot, and I started to research about co-working spaces and the entrepreneurs who are collaborating in those spaces. I went to Spain twice to attend conferences on co-working and Fab Labs. Then when I came back to Turkey, we started, I shared these ideas with my friends, and we started a small project to support entrepreneurs. This was completely private. It was what we call InnoCampus project, a mobile entrepreneurship training program, which was moving from one university to the other. So it was, for me, it was just a hobby at the time. I was, part-time involved and not very in the center of it, but trying to contribute as much as I can. So that experience taught me what could happen if we created a safe space for entrepreneurs, which is supported by different actors. We did this program also together with refugees in Turkey twice. And on the basis of this experience, I used this experience as a diplomat in my professional career to launch a new and bigger initiative in partnership with UNDP first. I told them that because my job was related to sustainable development goals. And I have learned very well that the role of private sector as well as entrepreneurs are significant in implementing sustainable development goals. The governments alone cannot achieve those goals. They are really ambitious. So I proposed UNDP in Turkey to, as a diplomat this time, to come up with an accelerator which would support entrepreneurs whose business models are related to sustainable development goals. So they decided to prepare a feasibility study, and on the basis of that study, which showed us that there's great potential in focusing on sustainable development goals, but also displaced people's needs in Turkey. So we brought these teams together to focus through the accelerator. We made a call to the whole world of entrepreneurs to focus on the challenges that we defined in the field of entrepreneurship, in the field of the refugee-related problems. So we asked the entrepreneurs to address two main problems. One was access to livelihoods and basic services through digital identity. Second was access to sanitation through reinvented toilets. So we made the call, and 150 applications came from around the world, east and west, north and south. We used our embassies to disseminate information. Our partners also, we also built partners. I personally was involved in convincing Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, World Food Program, Qatar Fund for Development, and two of the large Turkish companies who invested in this program. The government spent nothing in the first program. We raised more than $700,000 to make the first program, and it lasted for about 4 months. We graduated 8 teams. Kevin is representing one of them, and we took 4 teams, actually 6 teams, both to New York and Geneva to showcase what we achieved through this program and how this partnership could really be helpful to the entrepreneurs. And there are some novelties that we introduced, but maybe it could be a topic for another round. I'll stop here. Duygu, you're mute, I think.
Thank you very much. So do you think it's time for us to share the video or later on?
Maybe we can complete the first round and then we'll show okay. Some visuals so that...
Sure. So I'd like to continue with you, Melih. And this is a question for all of the panelists, let's say. So what are the most distinct aspects of the SDG Impact Accelerator that distinguishes it from many similar initiatives from around the world? So could you touch upon them, please?
Sure. So hi, all the best from Istanbul, Turkey. First of all, I just wanted to share one thing. As Mustafa was saying, so he's really the one who convinced me and my company and my boss to go into this project. So I am Melih, I am from Istanbul, Turkey. So I do represent LIMAK, which is one of the largest business groups from Turkey, especially specialized on infrastructure, construction, tourism, and cement products. Been a part of this project since day one, I could say. So it has been more than 1.5 years since we are in. We were really amazed, and when we first heard about the project, and I believe compared with, I mean, there are many other impact accelerator projects all around the world, Turkish companies, international companies. But I believe that there are some novelties and there are some points which make it distinct from the others. The first one, I should say that what we do different from the others is that, it's partnership structure, I would say, because it has the government, it has the international organization, it has the private sector, big, small, it has all the different actors that could come together. I mean, last year when we had this, one of the demo days, so I was just making an introduction of the company and of myself. So I was saying that, most of the time when you do a project collaboratively, so you just put the logos one to each next to each other, but it's always, the government's logo should be bigger than the others. I mean, this should be put next to that one, etc., etc. I mean, we always have this confusion, but in this project, all the logos are the same. Even we don't even use the logos of the companies. I mean, it is only the logos of the Impact Accelerator, which is important, and it brings all together different actors, which is very important. I mean, from the industry, so the PPPs, the public-private partnerships, are very important, especially for the governments, for the private sector. I could say that I do see this project as a PPP as well, because it has all different colors of the sectors, colors of the business life and the public life into it. So this is number one. The second thing is that from the very beginning, so we have decided that this project is a sustainable one and it's a durable one. In order to do that, so we have establish a foundation, first of all, which was established at the beginning of this year on January. Actually, I mean, the main aim of the foundation is that through the foundation, there will be more actors joining to the project. So it's not going to be only 2-3 different private companies, but it will be open to all the companies in Turkey and abroad. So this is something very important. And it also shows the willingness of the founders to make it as sustainable as possible. So this is number one. And the second thing is that once we have from the very beginning, so the project has been planned together with Impact Fund, which means that, which is a voluntary fund, of course, but you know, the founders, some efforts, they will put some time and brain into the project, but they will also put some money so that they will fund and they will support the entrepreneurs, the enterprises and the projects coming out. So this is also, I think, very important and what distinguishes SDG Impact Accelerator from the existing ones.
Thank you, Melih. So Kevin, could you go ahead, please, with the same question?
Absolutely. So typically governments and large organizations like the United Nations, Gates Foundations are where startups go to die. Typically their process engagement is just something which is quite formidable and oftentimes requires a multi-year engagement which has no promises. What was unique about SDGia Impact Accelerator was it brought together governments, the philanthropic sector and the private sector, and very noteworthy names in each of these verticals, brought them together around the SDGs and created a very a framework through which startups can engage and achieve reasonable milestones within a relatively short period of time. It hasn't even been a year, and rather within 8 months of initiating the process, that, for instance, our organization had a purchase order to engage and work with organizations like the UN and the formal government and these private organizations. And for us, that is a major win, being able to validate and go through that iterative process of understanding how our technology and how that helps from their perspectives to move forward with their approaches to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals is also a huge win. So really what was unique about this is that for organizations like ours and the other startups that were involved that have these huge ideas that want to make this catalytic impact, we had essentially everything handed to us on a plate that would be necessary for us to grow really quickly, validate very quickly, and be able to produce something that has a real world impact. And the proximity to people in the highest echelons of power, but also being facilitated access to people on the ground. We were taken to refugee camps. We were given proximity to, intimate proximity to the sanitation challenges. So we were able to not restrict ourselves from the real world, but also understand how people at LIMAK, UN, or the Turkish government were thinking in and the real challenges that were there. How do you break the silos that that these communities often have if we're trying to create a solution in a very complex multi-stakeholder environment?
Thank you very much. It's very inspiring to hear the story from your perspective, because we were the ones who took part in it and actually on the field. So thanks a lot. And Mustafa, could we also get your views on this?
Yes, thank you, Duygu. I think one of the differences, hopefully, this accelerator, which is in the pilot phase still, is going to be that, we start with defining the challenges. And in defining the challenges, we use a lot of expertise from the government as well. Our institutions are involved in consultations about, what would be those big challenges if resolved or addressed would create a bigger impact. So I think to definition of those challenges in the before the acceleration process and having a large-scale consultation is extremely important. And also one of the one of the advantages of doing this is that when you're defining the problem together with the government officials, the private sector, the civil society, and universities and international organizations, you also understand who could be the enablers, like who could be those people with expertise and experience on the ground who can partner and cooperate with the entrepreneurs who come into the accelerator program, and also give them, you know, the valuable mentorship and expertise during the time that they have to adjust their solutions based on technology to the problems on the ground. I think that's one of the reasons why many startups fail, is because they are not given access, as Kevin was saying, given access to the problems on the ground. They cannot easily talk to the refugees. They cannot easily talk to the end beneficiaries about the solutions they're working on. So I think one contribution that I was able to make as a policy entrepreneur was to convince the government institutions to help cooperate with our startups. And we are now going to go through the implementation phase of the alumni startups, where you know, that collaboration will intensify.
Yes, I think this systems approach that you just described from the beginning till the end is one of the unique factors that makes this like a novel model. So before we move on to the next round, we would like to share a video, actually, to tell you our story.
Yes. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and a video maybe is worth of millions. So it's like a 2.5 minutes video to give an idea to our viewers, our friends who are watching, you know, what did it really mean to go to the field and have these all different stakeholders working together? What was the energy of that project?
This is going to make a difference.
So we've heard and seen about the story of the accelerator. And if we go back to our main theme, policy entrepreneurship, I would like to ask you, Mustafa, again. I know you touched upon that, but how did you see the role of this policy entrepreneur like in this process? How did it play out? Maybe you could also touch upon the main challenges that you faced and how you overcame them, because it will be a good model for many of us and like going into the future. I think it's a key definer of the success. So please, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Duygu. I think it's important to speak about also challenges, because this was not an easy journey for me. Because a government employee has a very strict boundaries about what their work is. So as a diplomat, a lot of people question me, why am I involved in the world of entrepreneurs? Why am I doing this? Why am I trying to bring the private sector in? Am I expecting a personal thing? There are all kinds of issues involved in this, and many government officials shy away from collaborating with the private sector or with the world of entrepreneurs because of these unnecessary, unwarranted issues that they face with. So my strategy was always to present a case for the government where they would understand that if they would like to achieve a certain policy goal, and in our case the policy goal, which I was also working on, was how Turkey could best implement sustainable development goals. We also had an ambition to support least developed countries as Turkey, and we also had an ambition and the necessity to find innovative solutions for the refugees in Turkey. We host 4 million refugees in Turkey. So the government needs new ideas, innovative ideas. They want to help least developed countries. So I have brought these objectives together and made a case to my superiors, to the minister, so that he would approve, at least give us a go-ahead to partner with UNDP, World Food Program, and all the other partners like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It's not easy to really convince all of these partners. I think once the government is convinced, then of course the private sector also has to see a value in which they will also gain something, right? I mean, of course, a lot of people wants to do good. They want to be creating some positive image, including private sector, but they also has to see some gains out of this collaboration. So I think the way I try to convince the private sector to join in this partnership was that through this project, they would also be joining a group of actors who are working collaboratively and innovatively to work towards the implementation of sustainable development goals. So I think that was a goal that every institution has set for itself, and it was important to convince every single actor that they would do it better if they join in this platform. So there were challenges, but you had to present a consistent and insisting case to the decision makers to make them understand that by working together, they will create a bigger impact. And that's what really counts.
Thank you very much. I think implicitly you also summarized the key characteristics or skills that a policy entrepreneur should have, including like a negotiator and then a visionary. So also the ability to convene partners. Thank you very much. I think we have got like 10 more minutes, and I would like to open up the floor for any questions if there are. So it's for the audience now.
Duygu, I think we can continue talking while if there's anyone who wants to join in the conversation, they can send us a request. Okay, so there's one question already, Duygu, on the chat.
Yes, thank you, William. So a question around, if you had any luck changing policy, I guess this is to you, Mustafa. So first question is about like impact, like if you had the luck in changing policy, government policies.
Government policies, yes.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, changing a government policy requires time and a lot of consultation within the government. But I would say that at least from the perspective of my ministry, which is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which has never got involved in collaborating with entrepreneurs, collaborating with private sectors. It was something very new. So I mean, if I could talk about any change that was possible out of the role that we played in this program, is that the government now pays more attention to the sustainable development goals and how the private sector can play a significant role in attaining those goals. So that was maybe reinforced, not completely changed, but reinforced because of this program.
Yes, I guess we will see this more in time, the real impact that this has on policies. So a question from Richard: how does it influence an social impact accelerator in a multi-religious society as Turkey? Turkey is a multi-religious society. How do you really influence the social impact accelerator? I guess this is the question. So is it possible to really influence?
I would really like if Richard could join us and explain the question a little bit more, because I did not. Okay, here it is.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, thanks for joining.
Hi, Richard.
Just to nuance it a bit more, you know, in the Nordics, we are a pretty homogeneous culture when it comes to the way we live and how we act in life and the morals we have. Obviously, we have a lot of immigrants, so we are also influenced by Islam and other religious ways of approaching life. But I think in Turkey or Middle East, how do you see when you try to implement acceleration for social impact activities, that it's received in different ways from different religious communities in society, because they maybe see different problems in society that has to be solved?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for elaborating on your question. So our accelerator was working with refugees in the first program, and these refugees are from Syria. They're Muslim. Turkey is a Muslim country. There are, even if the religion did not play a direct role in the whole acceleration process, we had to be careful when we were going to, for example, to the field visits, or when we were engaging with refugees. We had to be really careful and sensitive towards their values, towards their sensitivities. Like we had one of the challenges as sanitation, which is kind of a privacy area. So we had to be very careful. Like, for example, when the entrepreneurs were interviewing the women, the women beneficiaries were only interviewed by the women, not like mixing men and women together in this very private environment, talking about refugees' sanitation needs, because it touches upon a very sensitive and private area. So we in the end had to be really careful. But in terms of the design of the accelerators, I think the religion did not play a part. Obviously, if there are some inputs from various religious aspects or cultural aspects, I think we need to also make entrepreneurs understand that those cultural issues play a part in making their product or service successful. If they build a toilet which cannot be used for cultural reasons, even if it's using the highest technology, you know, the end product would not be scaling up and adopted by the end users. So I think that sensitivity is extremely important for entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Richard. So I guess we have time for one more question. Do we have, Siam?
Yeah.
So it's from Rachel. Where have you seen the most impact in your work? This could be a question for the floor. And how would you suggest that citizens can get more involved in policy change, specifically in the area of climate crisis? I think Rachel asked about. So what are the leverage points?
Yeah, this is a great question. Kevin or Melih, would you like to say, or Duygu, would you like to say something about this? And I will.
Just from my perspective, I mean, for the first part of the question, where have you seen the most impact in your work? So I just remember and just want to quote the meetings that we had in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Just very quickly, one of the things that we've observed is that the private sector typically has a great difficulty in capturing indicators and measuring the impact of their work. And one of the things that was unique about the SDGs from the that they had as a theory, and then were very rigorous about making sure at every step of the way there was that feedback loop, capturing, reporting, you know, thinking about how to be more quantitative and alongside qualitative metrics in terms of their work, and delivering that feedback back to the private sector, the public sector, and philanthropies.
Melih, do you want to continue or? No?
Yeah, just in 1 minute. I mean, for the first part of the question, where have you seen the most impact in your work? I just remember that, you know, the meetings that we had in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs around this big table, where, you know, people from the government, people from the private sector, international organization, national organization, entrepreneurs, all together, sitting together, like, you know, spending hours and hours to decide on one thing, but at the end, you know, most of the time it's not impossible, but it's very difficult for those actors to come together and sit around a table on a common decision. But I believe it was very easy on our side. So I think this is the impact of our work in general.
Yeah, Mustafa?
Yeah, I'll just, I'd like to say thank you to Rachel for raising this question. We don't have enough time to elaborate on this, but I think our work has really made entrepreneurs understand that if you know, they engage with the government and the private sector at the same time, they kind of believed in the possibility of a government coming together with the private sector, supporting them to the extent that they could realize their dreams. I think the last part of the question also asks about, you know, how the citizens get more involved in policy change on issues like climate crisis. I think we, first of all these stakeholders would need to project this possibility of coming together from different background, from different expertise points, to really you know, address these really complex challenges. I would love to elaborate on this with Rachel on a one-on-one or a smaller group chat, but I think we have to finish on time.
Okay.
Thank you very much for all the questions. Yeah, okay, Rachel, we will do. All right, I just want to say thank you from Dhaka, where I'm based in Bangladesh, and thank you, Duygu, Melih, and Kevin for responding positively to our call to come together and share our experience.
Thank you very much to you and to our audience. Hope to see you in the next session. Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.